Hey Emma,
Yes, Madelyn.
what do you say when your friends are having an intense debate over the singular form of the word dice and it's causing a big hullabaloo?
I don't know what to use.
Die! No crisis! Hello and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I just got a pity laugh from you that time.
I figured it out before you said it, so... Usually I'm not sure where it's going, but that time I was like, oh, I understand.
That's the reaction you want from your joke. Your audience to go, oh, I understand.
Yeah.
It's my classic joke format of like take the syllables and split them up slightly differently with intonation.
Yeah.
Anyway, listeners, thanks for tuning in to the show. I'm your Resident Evil, but with spreadsheets, host Madelyn.
I'm your Earthbound, but with magic. That there's probably magic in Earthbound. Host Emma.
And thanks for tuning in to the show. This week you might have gotten from the opener that we're going to be talking about Dino Crisis. And we're also talking about Eastward. We're not talking about it last week. No one would ever have been confused about that.
No.
Just this week. So it's going to be a big, fun, apocalyptic episode here.
Are there dinosaurs in Eastward?
No, but I think that there's some kind of general malaise.
General malaise?
Like, the dinosaurs are the active crisis in Dino Crisis, but in Eastward, I think the crisis is more a slow infrastructure decline, perhaps.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I was just asking generally. It felt like there could possibly be dinosaurs in Eastward.
I've not encountered any dinosaurs in Eastward yet. That does not mean that I will not.
I do appreciate the you either have dinosaurs, right, or general malaise. Those are the two states of history, I think.
You're right. After the dinosaurs, it really kind of all went downhill from there, didn't it?
It's really true. It's true.
So let's start with the dinosaurs so our episode can go downhill from there. It's Dino Crisis. So Dino Crisis is a survival horror / action-adventure game created by Capcom and Shinji Mikami for PlayStation in 1999. They actually marketed it as panic horror, which sounds kind of funny until you realize survival horror was just a term that they coined for Resident Evil, which had only come out a little while before. So, well, now it would be a little weird to call your game panic horror. It'd be like, okay, but that's
what they mean by panic horror is like in comparison to Resident Evil, the enemies are a lot more constant and aggressive and violent, I guess, as opposed to the slower zombies. So they were trying to emphasize that you will be scared more immediately, more of the time, rather than having like a dread, I guess.
Spooky.
Shinji Mikami, by the way, made the first Resident Evil, and then Resident Evil 4 later, and more recently, The Evil Within, in case you do not know who he is.
He got the Resident Evil gig because people at the company knew he hated being scared, by the way.
I know. That's really funny.
And they were like, oh, you hate being scared, so you'll be able to figure out what's scary. And I guess it worked.
I guess so. Pretty successful.
Do you think he hates that for himself, though?
He's kept making horror games, so I think he's leaned into it, if anything.
Face your fears. Anyway, Dino Crisis, originally for the PlayStation, ported to Dreamcast and Windows in 2000. It was re-released, I guess, for the PlayStation 3 on PSN in 2006. I don't think it's still there, though. I'll admit that I did not boot up the PS3 to check, but from everything I could tell online, I don't think that you can still buy this game on PSN, even if you have a PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's lost to time. Which is a shame, because it's Resident Evil with dinosaurs, and people liked it pretty well.
Yeah.
So should I give my plot summary here?
Sure, give us the plot summary. Tell us about the dinosaurs, Madelyn.
There are dinosaurs. Imagine calling your game Dino Crisis, and then it's like, oh no, like, it takes place in a laboratory, like, there are no dinosaurs.
Yeah. Well, you might expect, like, they're, like, dinosaurs with quotes, right? But no, they're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
No quotes.
So, 10 years in the future, in 2009...
Ooh, the future.
The Secret Operation Raid Team, or SORT, discovers that a Dr. Kirk is running some kind of secret weapons thing on Ibis Island, which I like, because the Ibis, the mascot of the University of Miami. So, last to leave after a storm, first to return, maybe some symbolism there. Anyway, the weird thing is that Dr. Kirk is supposed to be dead. So that's odd that he's doing some weapon stuff on Ibis Island. So they send 4 agents to investigate. Regina, who's your main player character, Gale, Rick, and Cooper. Cooper, who is immediately blown off course and eaten by a dinosaur when they parachute in, which is probably the alternate plot for Crash Landing on You, if you follow Split Screen.
Seems likely.
Yeah. So, Regina, Gale, and Rick run around the compound, learning stuff. And eventually they capture Kirk. They also discover that there are dinosaurs. But a destructive T-Rex, is there any other kind, trashes their helicopter so they can't leave. And Kirk reveals at this point that the dinosaurs, it's not like I think in Jurassic Park they like genetically engineered dinosaurs, right? So no, these are organic free-range dinosaurs that were brought
Ethical dinosaurs.
What?
Ethical dinosaurs.
Exactly. Humanely raised. So they were brought to their future time of 2009 through basically like a time rift using something called third energy technology. And like they exchanged some time. Look, don't dig too deep into how the time travel mechanic stuff works ever.
There's like a time bubble. And, like, they got, like, mashed and, like, went through each other. But then, like, they left some dinosaurs on the way.
Yeah. It's like they swapped time bubbles.
Yes.
Anyway, there should be a way to, like, send them back, theoretically. But they have a hard time doing that. There's some blasts. The doctor gets away. And then, the climax, you get to decide what ending you're gonna have here, and spoilers for a game that is over 20 years old, and
it's a little late, Madelyn. You did tell them about the time bubbles already.
I didn't feel like the time bubble, I don't know, how else would the dinosaurs have gotten there?
Jurassic Park.
They can't be Jurassic Park, because Jurassic Park is Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Duh. Anyway, more spoilers, I guess, for a game that is 20 years old and you can't play. And it's about dinosaur time travel, for goodness sake. You don't care about the spoilers. So, basically, Kirk runs off. And you can either, like, go after him with one of your colleagues, Gale, or escape with your other colleague, Rick, right away. If you go after them, in one of the sort of bad endings, you find out from Gale that this was actually kind of a front. The government wasn't really after Kirk. Instead, they just wanted to find this technology to use in warfare. Spot on, really. Mm-hmm. But in the good ending, like, you're able to, like, capture that information about the third ending, without any of your team dying and also capturing Kirk.
Don't you kill Gale in the good ending?
The summary I read indicated knocks out Gale.
Oh, okay.
So maybe Gale stays and gets eaten by dinosaurs. I don't know. But you do kill Gale in one of the endings. Anyway, then you're ready for your next assignment, and that is Dino Crisis the First.
There you go.
So it's really the unhinged dinosaur energy is really missing from modern gaming, to be honest.
I think just dinosaurs are missing from modern gaming. I mean, I guess there's Horizon Zero Dawn, but those are mechanical dinosaurs, not real dinosaurs, so...
We'll give them half a point.
I imagine dinosaurs... this actually came up in their development, but dinosaurs are kind of hard to, rig and animate. So they ended up having a lot of dinosaurs that are sort of similar in shape to make it easier for themselves. But I imagine they're still hard to do even now, you know.
I guess. Not to be like, game designers can do anything, but...
I'm not saying it's impossible to make a dinosaur. I'm just saying maybe someone pitches a dinosaur thing and they're like, do you want to animate the T-Rex? And they're like, maybe not. And then they drop the dinosaur, you know?
Are they harder? Like, how much harder are they than dragons, though? I feel like there's a lot of dragon games.
That's true. That's true. People love dragons, though. People
Dragons
would love
really...
dinosaurs. They just have to give them a chance.
Dragons have really kind of eaten the dinosaur market, I think.
That's true.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But I also think probably the problem with dinosaurs, and the problem that I was having in reading about this game until I realized they were free range and not lab grown, is that it's probably hard to make a dinosaur game that isn't like, this is Jurassic Park, but in space. This is Jurassic Park, but underwater. Or, you know what I mean?
Well, what you have to do is just have the dinosaurs there naturally, right? It doesn't have to be set in the real world. Set in dinosaur world, where there are dinosaurs.
But if they're not, it's not set in the real world. Aren't they dragons? What is the difference between a dragon and a dinosaur?
Dragons can fly and breathe fire. The breathe fire is, like, really key, I think. No dinosaurs can do that, as far as I know.
Paleontologist Emma reporting for duty. Emma, can you tell us the most important classification of what makes something a dinosaur?
I'm like 95% sure no dinosaurs could breathe fire, so.
No, I like that. I mean, whatever. I need to save this for the mashup, but you're right, that having some kind of world where the dinosaurs never went extinct seems like a missed opportunity for games.
Yeah, exactly.
Dino horses. Just Red Dead Redemption, but with dinosaurs instead. So despite sounding kind of corny and such from my plot summary, Dino Crisis was quite well reviewed and did very well. It sold almost 2.5 million copies. Got a lot of critical praise because they did a nice job taking things from the Resident Evil format and making Resident Evil with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And people liked that.
There are definitely some ways that it's distinct from Resident Evil. We talked about, like, the more aggressive types of enemies. You can actually resuscitate yourself after you die if you have materials for it. There are, like, these danger events, like, that are, like, QuickTime events before QuickTime events became popular. So there are ways, and there's a lot more puzzles, apparently. So there are ways it distinguishes itself, but the reception was definitely Resident Evil with dinosaurs, which you'd think would be a bad thing, but probably actually helped it sell a lot, because Resident Evil was very popular. It just released 2, and 3 was coming out soon, and people were like, yeah, I want more Resident Evil. So... there you go.
It was a simpler time.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that they described this as wanting to move away from the fantasy of Resident Evil and make something more real. Time-traveling dinosaurs is your idea of more real, team?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
I understand that they wanted to get out of, like, fantasy, but to describe this as somehow more real, it's like, well, I don't know. Time pockets, time bubbles, transporting dinosaurs to our, near future. Okay.
What, you don't think the corporations engineering a virus and unleashing it upon the populace?
I sat next to someone at a restaurant this week who I listened to him say, everyone who says, like, the government, has our best interests at heart, like, that's not always been true. Like, remember slavery? It has nothing to do with Dino Crisis, but I I've been thinking about that ever since, and I needed to share it.
Oh, you're right. The government has not always had our best interests at heart. It's true. It is very true.
It was astonishing. It's like the time that they developed time-traveling dinosaur super weapons. Everybody remember
just
that?
Just the phrasing, like, remember slavery. That's very good.
I just,
glad that person's heart is in the right place,
I guess. Anyway, he went on and talked about NFTs after that, and I was like, why did I get this table? But yeah, remember in 2009 when the government didn't have our best interests at heart and developed dinosaur time travel technology?
Yeah, rough time.
Really rough time.
I was reading a little bit, I just read a little bit about the sequels, right? Like the blurbs that they had on the Wikipedia page. And Dino Crisis 3 really slapped me across the face.
Dino Crisis 3 was just like, this dinosaurs in space. Let's do it.
Yeah, it skips like 300 years in the future to like 2500. And you're in space, and there's like space colonies now, and also dinosaurs.
I really thought when I was reading the blurbs, so Dino Crisis 2, let me give the Dino Crisis 2 quick overview, listeners, so you can follow the lore here. Dino Crisis 2 comes out in the year 2000, right? So just a year after Dino Crisis. Man, remember when that could happen? When games could have sequels that came out every year? What a time.
Yeah, that's wild, huh?
Anyway, Breath of the Wild 2 will come out someday. So in Dino Crisis 2, you got dual protagonists, Regina returning, and Dylan. And so the government has been messing around. It's now the future year of 2020. And the government has been messing around with this third energy stuff, and they accidentally sent a whole city and like a military base back in time to dinosaur time with it. Just like, uh-oh, imagine waking up in your apartment in the morning. It's like, oh, there's a dinosaur outside in the jungle. And so this game became a little bit more of a straightforward action-adventure game, rather than they kind of abandoned some of the panic horror elements this time. Mm-hmm. It was super well reviewed, so in some ways that seems to have worked for them. But basically what happened is there, in this game, you trade off playing as Regina and Dylan, and they're like running around trying to see if there are survivors and what happened. And there's this like mysterious blonde girl that they're following around. And again, spoilers for a 20-year-old game. Basically, they discovered that in the near future from 2020, the government made some kind of a mistake that caused an alternate timeline to be made with no humans. Kind of time travel situation. Yeah, bad. So they made what they called the Noah's Ark plan, where in that timeline, they brought dinosaurs, 3 million years in the future, basically to start over so that everything would kind of evolve the way it should again. But classically, some of the humans got trapped, including Dylan's daughter, Paula. But humans can't talk anymore, either. That's something they lost in the time travel.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, stuff happens, and Dylan and Paula try to make it back, but only Regina makes it back. I just thought that was, I know not as much about, but that was wild to me.
Yeah.
They're like, alternate timeline, let's start over with the dinosaurs in 3 million years.
I'm still thinking about, the time bubble taking their voices. I'm just, imagining the time bubble with the voices, and every time they try to talk, it's just, people screaming disembodied in that world. It does evoke some horror in me, to be honest.
It does. There's also, so those are kind of the two mainline sequels, or the two mainline games before Dino Crisis 3, but there's also Dino Stalker, which was a spin-off in this run of Resident Evil spin-offs that used the light gun controller attachment. Mm-hmm. And that game is it's a love story between a World War II pilot who on the brink of death gets time traveled to Paula's time somehow. And they fall in love, but he can't stay. But she, changes the timeline so the guns don't shoot him.
Okay.
Anyway, If you're not following this, that's okay. That's kind of the point. Because none of it matters. As Emma said, I fully expected Dino Crisis 3, especially reading the blurb about it. I was like, oh, I'm going to understand what this spaceship is from Dino Crisis 2 or Dino Stalker somehow. Nope. Just dinos in space.
Yep. Anyway, I think Dino Crisis 3 was the last game that has been released, and that was back in 2003.
That's what you get when you make an Xbox exclusive, just saying.
And since the latest news from, like, the various Capcom leaks and stuff that have happened is that there's not anything in the works for Dino Crisis. So seems like not a series that Capcom is intending to do anything with in the near future, at least.
Pachinko, maybe.
However, there is a spiritual successor being made by a New Zealand studio called Instinction.
What gives you the right to call something a spiritual successor?
If it's, like, deeply inspired by it, I assume.
I guess my question
I imagine they got together and were like, we want to make a Dino Crisis game. And so it's that you're taking the spirit and succeeding it, you know?
Thanks, etymologist Emma. No, my question was related to, so we talked about Banjo-Kazooie, what was that, 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 4 weeks ago, on a recent episode. And we talked about Banjo-Kazooie, and that had spiritual successor Yooka-Laylee, right?
Yeah.
Which was made functionally by many of the same people, just a new studio, basically. Yeah. And so I kind of expected when I saw Instinction popping up from Hashbane Studios that Hashbane was going to be somehow connected to Capcom or, Production Team 4, whatever, the old Resident Evil team. And it's not. Which, it made me curious about that kind of like that whole paradigm of what allows something to be called a spiritual successor and what's just like, I'm making a dinosaur horror game.
Well, in this case, it's the developers calling it that.
No, I know that.
Explicitly. So it's not like the press is like attributing it to the game. It's what they're advertising it as.
Well, that's why I was so suspicious of it, because it felt to me like, okay, if the press had just started calling this the spiritual successor to Dino Crisis, like, I can totally see that. It's a very similar type of game, and other people calling it that feels kosher to me. Going around, like, me being like, yes, I'm making the spiritual successor to Kingdom Hearts, like, doesn't seem like it would be cool. Why? I don't know.
Why is it suspicious to you? That's a weird phrase.
I don't mean suspicious. I just mean it's like, it's transparently marketing-y. I totally get it. I understand it. I understand the marketing campaign of it all. Sometimes I just get so suspicious. Not suspicious. I get like a little eye rolling at marketing campaigns that are like, oh, okay, I see why you're doing this.
I mean, okay, for one thing, indie teams have to take whatever buzzwords they can possibly get. And two, I think it's an honest, like, they were like, we want to make a Dino Crisis, and spiritual successor is just the words that you use. That's just what that means. So I think you're just getting mad at the English language.
I guess I am. I guess that was my question. It's like, does Capcom have any way to come to them and be like, please don't do this?
No, they're not using the name. They're not using their assets. They're not remaking Dino Crisis.
So I can run around calling my game a spiritual successor to whatever I want, and nobody can stop me?
Like, you can say that you're inspired by whatever you want. Someone can't sue me for saying, like, I was deeply inspired by Dino Crisis.
I guess that's true.
Or if they did, it'd be a dick move.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be. I'm just saying, do they, theoretically, if they wanted to make their own, could they be like, please don't call it this? I'm sure that they could. Obviously, they could be, please don't call it this. I understand that anyone can say anything to any person.
Yeah.
I know that, right?
I mean, I am not a lawyer. It does not feel like they should have any legal ground to stand on that. It's not, the title isn't Dino Crisis Spiritual Successor. In that case, they would. Like, there have been cases of small companies, like, Pray for the Gods, I think, had to change their name because Pray was like, we'll get confused.
Right.
Like, they didn't sue them, but they would, and they were like, we don't want to deal with that.
I can't believe you're telling
they
me that you're a
changed it to something else.
paleontologist and an expert on the English language, but that you're not a lawyer. Crushing.
Sorry, can only be so many things at once.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you're taking spiritual successor and, like, making it to more than it is.
I was
in
just
your
being
brain.
cynical about it. That's all. I was like, I see the marketing ploy here. It's a good marketing ploy, but I feel cynical about it. That's all.
Okay.
So speaking of spiritual successors, I guess, shall we talk about Eastward?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, I first need your help.
Isn't every indie game a spiritual successor to Earthbound? That's how I feel sometimes.
Well, that's why I was feeling like, can I call it... So all the reviews are like, it's influenced by Zelda, it's influenced by Earthbound. And this one, like, literally has Earthbound in the game, right? So cool. But is that an
Earthborn.
Yeah, exactly. But can I call this genre an Earthda? Zelda-bound?
I don't like either of those.
Well, you don't like Metroidvania either. That's kind of part of the point.
Yeah, I don't like Metroidvania either.
But see, like, that's the point. The genre title has to be a little annoying.
I don't want it to be.
Okay, fine. You describe the genre then.
It's a retro adventure game with puzzles.
It's not as fun to say as Earthda.
Earthda's not fun to say. Makes my brain recoil.
Okay, well, Eastward is that from earlier this year, from September, from Chinese studio Pixpill, that came out for Switch, Mac, Heyo, and Windows. I'm playing it on Switch, but when I was like, wow, Mac in the initial array of platforms, nice.
It's also published by Chucklefish, which is why I assume you initially thought it was like Stardew Valley.
I think that's probably why, even though the comments in one of the articles informed me that Chucklefish actually no longer publishes Stardew Valley after some just like unhappiness toward them, apparently.
Ah.
But I think that is where that came from, because I saw the word Stardew Valley in a review and I was like, oh, it's like Stardew Valley. And it was like little people in a town. So I was like, oh, yeah. It's like this. It's not. So I was dumb. Emma knew that.
Stardew Valley guy's working on a haunted chocolate shop game.
Choco Crisis. I do think more games should use that naming trope.
Something Crisis?
Yeah.
Eastern Crisis. I don't think that's good.
Diggy Crisis.
Iggy Crisis?
Diggy.
Diggy Crisis. Okay.
He's a digger.
I don't know.
I'm sure there's tons of other games that could do it.
I feel like this game and a lot of games could just be called Dad Crisis.
I was gonna do Boston Viral Crisis, but yeah, you're right.
Boston Viral Crisis?
What game is that? Maybe it's not a virus. Okay. Is it? What is it?
That game does not all take place in Boston.
Doesn't
Just
it?
throwing that out there.
I didn't get past Boston, so...
It starts in, like, Texas, doesn't it?
Does it?
It's definitely in the South, because they all have Southern accents.
Oh, boy. Okay. Anyway. Insert your own crisis game here.
Okay.
Anyway, in Eastward, you play as John, a Link-inspired silent protagonist, I imagine, who's also a lumberjack dude, but you're not a lumberjack. You're a great digger. You love to dig. You don't love to dig, but you're good at it. And you also have small, ethereal child, Sam, who I think John dug her out of the ground, right?
As you do. That's where you get your children.
You're right. You're right. That's why there are fewer of them in New York, because, like, there's nowhere to dig.
you know, as the Yosef Fares said at the Game Awards, go get some children, pick up your shovel, dig them out of the ground. They're yours now.
I can dig it. So Sam and John live in this underground mining town, basically, barely making ends meet. And yeah, John works digging. And Sam, as far as I've gotten anyway, like, they did not have enough money to send her to school, but now she's going to get to go to school. She's very excited about it. Hint, I don't think that she is really going to get to go to school, because we got to go east on an RPG adventure. So, as predicted, I have not really played much more Eastward since I played it last week. But I am going to come back to it. It's just been a busy week. It does feel a lot like the Game Boy Advance Zelda games that we have. Which is so funny to me that, like, that's my Zelda touchstone. Everyone else's Zelda touchstone, it's like, it's Majora's Mask, it's the Wind Waker, maybe it's Breath of the Wild. For me, it's like Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons.
Yeah.
Oh, those weren't even Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
Game Boy Color Zelda games.
Like the big chunky ones.
Yeah. So it feels a lot like that. Kind of walking around, whacking monsters. Hearts down in the bottom. That kind of good stuff.
There is, I don't know if you've gotten to this yet, but there is also a cooking system that is more Breath of the Wild-like.
Yes, I've done a teeny tiny bit of cooking. Do you think cooking minigames are the next fishing minigame?
Maybe. They put it in Animal Crossing, right?
Yeah.
So, that's a indicator, I think.
Animal Crossing is a bellwether. You're absolutely right.
I guess I don't know if the cooking in Animal Crossing is like a mini game exactly, but there's a function of cooking now. So.
Fair enough. I just mean, like, is cooking... You know, the cooking in Breath of the Wild is not really a mini game, as I recall.
That's true. That's true.
So I do wonder, and, like, they had it in the no longer most recent, but the most recent to me, Pokemon games have cooking. And I'm just wondering, is cooking the way of the future?
Could be.
I also look forward to... So this game, right, heavily influenced by Zelda games and by Earthbound. And like Emma said, it does feel like every indie game is influenced by Earthbound in one way or another. And it made me wonder what the Earthbound of 20 years from now is going to be.
It's a good question. I don't know. PT, maybe?
Oh, no. Really?
I don't know.
It's a cop-out to say Breath of the Wild, right? It's too popular.
I mean, Breath of the Wild is the Earthbound of now, so... They're literally making Sonic of the Wild now, Kirby of the Wild. Nintendo is just like, wow, that worked. Let's use it on all our other properties. Woo-hoo.
Pokemon of the Wild.
Yeah, literally Pokemon of the Wild. Nintendo.
Is Arceus a spiritual successor to Dino Crisis? Arceus? Pokemon are the
either dinosaur Pokemon.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
There's some you literally resurrect from fossils, but there are also
aren't they dragons though?
I mean, they're dragon type. Yeah.
So
but not all of them can fly, and not all of them can breathe fire. So
that's fair. You're right.
Backed into a corner.
Oh no.
Anyway, I should talk more about Eastward before I go back to my crises. Basically, it operates like any of these kind of like pixel adventure RPG games. John not only cooks in his frying pan, but also wields it as a weapon, in addition to bombs and stuff, much like Link. And Sam has some psychic powers. I've not encountered these yet in the game, but she has some kind of psychic powers. Unsurprising for a girl literally dug out of the ground. And so in the game, it's not a local co-op, which is a shame. We all know local co-op is the way of the future. Did we all watch the Game Awards?
Yeah.
But you switch between playing the two as needed with their different abilities. Banjo-Kazooie-like, perhaps.
Yeah.
Not really, but I'm all about the spiritual successor today. So yeah, there's some kind of slow-moving disaster, general malaise happening, and so they're eventually going to have to leave their city and go east.
I think I'd be worried if the child I dug out of the ground didn't have supernatural powers.
You're so right. If I just dug an ordinary... frankly, I'm going to be worried about any child that I have that doesn't have some kind of supernatural powers. I feel like, what's the point? But especially a ground child, a root vegetable child, I think, yes, absolutely needs to have some special powers.
Potato child.
Exactly.
I read a couple of reviews for this, which it did get generally pretty good positive reviews on all fronts for sort of the aesthetic and the atmosphere, although there were some criticisms of the main story maybe losing some steam near the end, I think. Just a problem for video games in general, I believe. Not Dino Crisis, though.
No, Dino Crisis, you fight a big T-Rex at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the pinnacle of games.
And then there are a few criticisms about it's a little bit fat phobic, I guess, in that there's a lot of evil fat people, for instance, or making fun of them.
Oh, that's such an easy trope to fall into in a scarcity society, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And then some weird stuff with homosexuality too. So, if you do play it, you should look out for that. But otherwise, only saw positive reviews, really.
It's a dad game, so...
It is a dad game. We love dad games. Still love dad games.
They just keep coming.
I was thinking like a few years ago, I was like, we're into the daughter games now, They've finished the game about themselves, now they're making the game about their daughters.
The daughter gets to play in this game.
That's true. You're right. They do, in daughter games, they usually do. They're helpful.
Right.
And supportive, or whatever. But she does have the psychic powers in this one. Not the frying pan, though. Disappointing.
Really, what's better?
I feel like you should get her own small frying pan,
It's dangerous. If you can't give a psychic power person a frying pan. That's too much power.
I guess so. You're right.
Too much responsibility.
They'd be unstoppable then.
First, it's psychic powers and frying pans. Then, it's dinosaur time bubbles. It's a slippery slope.
It's true. You're right.
I'm looking forward to playing more of Eastward. I don't know. I found these old-styled games sort of soothing lately.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Eastward still scratches that itch, right? But, all of these games are in the style of these, earlier 2000s or late 90s games. I've been like, the simplicity. I find this relaxing. That said, Earthbound. I'm sure there was probably no way for me to win the test fight in Earthbound that they give me, right? I'll have to Google that. It's can you win that fight? You probably can't. I feel like I was doing okay. But I did die.
Yes, and Earthbound is the game within the game that you can play throughout your experience in Eastward. So, 2 video games for the price of 1.
I wonder what it's inspired by.
No idea.
No idea.
Couldn't tell you.
Games within games.
It's backwards. One of them is Earthbound, right? They're heading towards Earth. One of them's Earthborn. They're coming out of the Earth. So they're not the same at all, really.
I can't believe nobody makes fun of Sam about that.
Yo, right. She is Earthborn.
That did not hit me until you just said it right now. I was like, oh. Interesting. Probably should have thought about that sooner.
Yeah.
But I'm not a bully, so I wouldn't think of bullying someone that way.
Of course not.
Never. I think games within games are a trend, too.
Yeah?
Maybe. potential
I
trend.
can only think of, like, Celeste having mini Celeste inside of it.
Well, all of the, arcades in Yakuza.
That's not the same.
It's not quite the same. Look, it's the end of the year. I'm trying to make the broad trend predictions. Swiss chard is going to be very in video games.
Okay.
Haptic feedback is going to be very in.
Love the haptic feedback.
I just like saying
Smell-o-vision.
the word haptic. Smell-o-vision. Coming soon. Emma, you can't say that. You're NDA.
Oh, no. They know about my smell-o-vision technology now.
If you came out in like 3 years and you were like, yeah, we've been developing a smell-o-vision controller this whole time. I've had to test all the smells.
I feel like I can tell you that's not what we're doing. I think if we were working on a smell-o-vision controller, I would have quit. Do you remember that... Sorry, this is super off topic now. Do you remember that Shrek ride we went to in Disney World with the smells, and I had to leave because I was going to vomit?
A little bit.
Yeah. That's what it... yeah. I don't think I am built to test a smell-o-vision controller.
It's too bad because, well, unrelated, we were just watching a speed run here of a Shrek game from Game of Quick a few years ago. Shrek Extra Large. You should really watch it. That game would benefit from some smell-o-vision.
Oh, no. I don't think it would. Just a guess.
Well, maybe I'll try to include smell-o-vision in our mashup. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, the title ends in something crisis.
What do dinosaurs smell like, do you think?
Birds.
I know they evolved into birds, but they don't have feathers, so I feel like, I guess they would just smell like lizards, whatever lizards smell
Probably
like.
they would mostly smell like their prey. Their breath would not be very good.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, something, directional crisis.
Directional crisis. I've played that game before.
There's a crisis somewhere, and you have to direct your way there.
You can pretty easily put dinosaurs, like, underground, right?
Heck yeah! I love that idea. Just living dinosaurs just wriggling around beneath us, deep in the earth.
You know what? That wasn't what I was thinking, but yeah, the dinosaurs didn't die. They just got very small. They evolved to be very small and live underground.
So, like, in the past, there was, like, a devastating earthquake, like will happen to us one day in the future, for instance.
2022 trends. Anyway, go on.
And in this devastating earthquake, it, like, broke apart a lot of fissures in the earth, where living dinosaurs were somehow still down there, being preserved, and they managed to get out. So in addition to this earthquake sort of ruining the world, there are now dinosaurs everywhere as well, because they were living, like I said, in the dirt.
I understand. I thought you were saying the earthquake was what wiped out the dinosaurs. And I was like, Emma, why would you go for earthquake when...
The earthquake unleashed the dinosaurs.
I understand now. Great. So when the meteor hit, when the asteroid hit Earth, some dinosaurs were able to escape. Like, the asteroid, like, pierced through. And some dinosaurs were able to escape underground. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, and so they come out, but if they're just tiny dinosaurs emerging, they're just lizards.
No, they're big dinosaurs. And it doesn't have to be Earth. It's Earth-like, where there's more space for dinosaurs under the ground.
I just was thinking they could be tiny.
I don't know if they should be tiny. I don't think that would create a very effective horror experience.
Okay, fair enough. What time... I know this isn't Earth, but, like, what era of history are they emerging into?
Well, are we doing it at the time they emerge, or, like, after they've emerged in the civilization that's been established?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Sort of like Horizon Zero Dawn, but with actual dinosaurs.
Right, so we're doing, like, a cyberpunk thing, but it's dinopunk.
Sure.
Great.
I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn is not cyberpunk. I feel like I should say that.
That's not what I was trying to say. I was just trying to say... what I was trying to express was, like, like an alternate future. Maybe cyberpunk really wasn't the word I was looking for. What's the one where it's, like... Like, there's lots of gears everywhere.
Steampunk?
Steampunk.
Okay.
Dinopunk.
Sure, yeah. We'll invent the Dinopunk genre.
Dinopunk Crisis is a pretty good title, I'm not gonna lie.
And you play as somebody who, like, one day happens across, like, a really tiny dinosaur. Who is kind, unlike the other dinosaurs.
Can
and
the
they decide to
like, what's the
adopt
deal
the
here?
dinosaur. What?
This is How to Train Your Dragon, Emma.
But this is a dinosaur.
Okay.
Cannot breathe fire.
Okay, I'll roll with it. Continue.
And, you know, the dinosaurs, but the dinosaurs are getting, like, more and more aggressive. And this little dinosaur drags your character out into the wild to figure out what's going on and try to stop it because, I don't know, it has, like, an instinct, a little dinosaur instinct. And you go on a journey.
Okay.
And fight dinosaurs along
What's
the way.
the, you talked about how games peter out at the end, but Dino Crisis doesn't. What's the big final boss? Then I'll fund it. I'll fund the game.
dragon.
You tell me. No!
Like, they've evolved, like, from the dinosaur into a dragon, and that's what has made them so aggressive. So you have to defeat the dragon.
No, I can't support that dinosaurs are just inferior dragons. I also, like, Emma, we can't animate both dinosaurs and dragons. Are you kidding me?
Well, your little dinosaur helps out to defeat the dragon, so in the end, the dragon was the inferior dinosaur.
I'm not sold.
Okay, then it's just like an unholy amalgamation of dinosaurs.
Okay, you're good. That's better. Something like Stegosaurus spikes, T-Rex head,
Yeah.
Velociraptor little armies.
Yeah. That could be a fun, like, boss fight, right? Because, like, say you encounter, like, different dinosaur types throughout the thing, and there's, like, different strategies to defeating those types of dinosaurs. You could make it, like, a multi-stage fight where you have to use all of those strategies because it's an unholy amalgamation of all the dinosaurs you've faced so far.
Right. It's probably been made by some kind of scary government weapons program, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Good. I like it. Strong ideation.
I think it's pretty good, to be honest.
I don't think I can call it Dinopunk Crisis, though, unfortunately, because that probably sounds too similar to Dino Crisis.
Yeah. Dinopunk, problem.
Dinopunk situation.
Sore punk
What?
incident. Sore punk incident.
Sure. Dinopunk opportunity.
That sounds too positive.
That's the point, right? We're trying to spin it. It's not a crisis. It's an opportunity.
Okay.
We'll figure out something good.
Okay.
Anyway, listeners, do you think more games should end with the word crisis at the end? Should we use that naming convention? Do you wish there were more dinosaurs in games? Do you wish more games took inspiration from Earthbound? Or what do you think of the Earthbound? What do you think the Earthbound of... What do you think the Earthbound of 20 years from now is going to be? And I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to think about that. If you have answers to any of those questions or any other thoughts you want to share, you should follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. You can also check out our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read all about the show, check out the games in the hat, leave us a message in our little comment thing, and check out our blog, featuring long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend and Split Screen. But most importantly, you definitely want to subscribe to the show. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts online and on the app, Overcast, Pocket Cast, anywhere that you can find podcasts, you can find Talk This. So next week is my side quest. I'll admit I haven't thought about what it's going to be yet, but I will have something good. Who knows? Holiday themed, maybe?
Yeah.
Could be fun.
And then I think the week after that, we should do our end of the year episode, because that way we can be together when we record it, and that might be fun.
That would be fun.
But I will still, so I will pick, these ones I'm picking are for
3 weeks from
3
now.
weeks from now. We will have a special inserted end of year episode to talk about the last year and look forward to the future of gaming.
Swiss chard.
What is Swiss chard?
It's a dark
What are you
leafy
talking
green.
about? It's what?
It's a dark leafy green.
Oh, it is. It is a dark leafy green. I love those in my games.
More games should have Swiss chard.
If the trees looked more like Swiss chard, maybe less people would complain.
Maybe. If the grapes looked more like Swiss chard, maybe less people would complain.
Okay. Alright, so for our old game for 3 weeks from now, we will be talking about The Bouncer.
Bounce?
The Bouncer. Look forward to that. And for our new game, we will be talking about Mundaun. As Mundaun.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know anything about either of these games, so it's gonna be a fun episode in 3 weeks as I learn a lot.
You don't know anything about The Bouncer?
No.
Okay, well, have fun researching that.
I'm illiterate, so...
The Bouncer is just it's a meme, so you can look forward to that.
I can't wait.
Uh-huh.
Well, listeners, thanks for tuning in this week.
Yeah.
Emma, do you have a sign-off?
This week, I hope that you can convince your friends of the important differences between dinosaurs and dragons.